world of medicine, where every decision can change lives, your peace of mind is crucial. This is where Pattern steps in. Imagine insurance made simple, fast, and personalized just for you. With Pattern, you're not just getting disability and life insurance, you're ensuring your future and protecting your greatest asset, your income. In the past 10 years, Pattern has transformed the way over 20,000 doctors secure their financial well-being. Discover the simplicity of securing your future at patternlife.com or click the link in the description.
We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And today I've got a fantastic entrepreneur from the Silicon Valley here to talk about power of masterminds. And he's going to talk about this idea of entrepreneurial freedom, which is really an interesting term that I'd love to hear more about. Name is Jeremy Shapiro, and he's got a lot of experience, and I'm really happy to have him on the show. So Jeremy, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Thrilled to be here.
What's interesting is, talk about your story. I always love talking to people from the Bay Area. They've just got a different slant on the world and the way things are. So talk about the work that you do and how you got started.
Yeah, I think I was always meant for the Bay Area. I'm originally from the East Coast in the Boston area. But after a little stint traveling, living around the world, we settled down here in Silicon Valley almost 20 years ago, which is crazy. But every year or so, my wife and I would laugh as we unlock the next level of being Californian. We always thought this is like meant for us, but then like we found ourselves, riding bikes. We're like, now we've done it. And then we found ourselves like walking downtown with a yoga mat. We're like, oh no, okay, we found a new level of Californian. And then like we became plant-based, and it's just every step of the way, we're like, oh my gosh, like how much more stereotypical like Californian can we become? And we just kept finding new layers to it. But we're always meant for this area, I think. And especially for me, being an entrepreneur at heart and always having been an entrepreneur my entire career, this really is such a great spot for that. So many folks you talk to either like work in tech or have their own company. And my journey has from my earliest years of quote, quote work in high school until now have always not just been in running my own businesses, but all of those have been in the service of helping other business owners and entrepreneurs move towards what I call entrepreneurial freedom.
Yeah. And so what is talk about what is, this is kind of first time I've heard of it. So what is it? What is it? Like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Just for my own curiosity.
I think when I say entrepreneurial freedom, the first thing that comes to mind for most folks is this idea of financial freedom. And that's a piece of it. But entrepreneurial freedom, as far as I'm concerned, is about so much more. It's about optionality. It's about freedom of time and choice. When you build a business that is there to support you and what you want out of life, you start to get back choice. You get to choose how you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what you do. So for some entrepreneurs, that comes down to the freedom of choice of spending time with their family and being there for their growing family and their kids and parents and spouse and so on. For others, it's around the choice of getting to spend time in their community, supporting nonprofits or causes that are important to them, and being able to be on those boards and attend the events and do the volunteer work that's needed to support the causes closest to their heart, right? For others, it's the freedom of choice of doing the work they love with the clients they love and how they love doing it. But the reality is, for most, it's all of those combined into one. So when you have your own business, what you really get back is time, and you get to choose how you spend that time.
Yeah, it's really brought so many ideas, because, you talk about this, you helping small business owners make the transition from solopreneurs, because a lot of people are self-employed, to business owner. And what's that important distinction that
many entrepreneurs miss when working in versus on their business?
For a lot of entrepreneurs, they sort of stumbled into their own business. For many, they were what we call a technician, doing some sort of trade or work within another business. And the next logical step is to go out, hang your own shingle, and open your own business, right? This might be you're a plumber working for a plumbing company and you decide to have your own plumbing business. If you're familiar with Michael Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited, the story is of Sally who loves making pies and then decides to open her own pie shop, right? This could be, you're an SEO expert working for an SEO agency and you go and start your own, or you're a doctor working in a medical practice and decide to go open your own practice, and so on, right? That is such a common path for business owners. The challenge is that when you go down that path, you end up with a business, not just the work of the business. And now you're dealing with marketing, sales, finances, everything that has to do with running your business. You've got to deal with the books and bringing in new clients and, paying the bills and all these things that aren't just the work within the business. So that's where for many business owners, they realize that they're actually self-employed, right? So they have all the worst parts of a job and all the worst parts of having a business, and they don't get the benefits of the both. So the big chasm, if you're familiar with, for example, Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, is moving from being an employee to self-employed, then jumping over this massive chasm to being an actual business owner. The litmus test I like to use is to close your eyes and imagine for a moment what it would look like if you stepped away from your business for a day, or maybe a week, a month, 3 months, when you came back from the desert island that had no cell phone coverage, no internet connectivity, where you weren't able to get back to emails and Slack messages and texts and so on, what would the world look like in your business when you came back? Would your business be the same, better off, or like a dumpster fire and out of business? For many business owners, quote, quote, business owners, if they were to step away for even a few days, they would come back to a dumpster fire of a business. And that's a good indication that you're still self-employed and not yet a true business owner. So keep in mind, there's gradations here, right? So if you put the right systems in place and the right people to run those systems, you can suddenly have a business that is not blocking on you. And I'll share with you a story. There's many of these, but one I particularly love is that when my wife and I were starting our family, when we decided to share that news with my team, we were about 3 months in. And so we now knew in 6 months from now, we would have a newborn baby on our hands. And so when I broke that news to my team, after the congratulations and all those sorts of things, the next question they asked was how much time I was going to take off. And I've always worked for myself. I love the work that I do. I had never really considered how much time I'd take off. I knew I'd take some time. But thankfully, I was surrounded by those older and wiser than me, many of whom were parents and knew what those first few months were like. And so they were encouraging me to take a bunch of time off. So I agreed. And the next thing they came to me with was the list. And they said, Jeremy, here are the systems we need to put into place. Here's the stuff that we don't know that needs to get documented. And here are the hires we need to make. And we now have a 6-month runway to get that figured out. So when I am offline, truly offline as the business owner, things can continue to run. And so that was a wonderful length of time that we had to put everything together. And I got to take 3 months off, not on emails, not on messages, nothing, to be there fully present with my now larger and growing family. And those first days, weeks, months are so precious. You can never get those back, right? Yeah. If you're taking a week off and then you're back into the grind of things, how present are you for all those moments with your growing family? And so for me, what that meant is, if our daughter was up in the middle of the night as a newborn, that was fine. The only thing I had to worry about the next day was being there for her, making sure my wife was fed and rested and getting all the things that she needed. And I could really be there, truly present, whatever time of the morning we got up, whatever that day had in store for us, I could truly be there.
Yeah.
And so these kinds of stories, are ever present with our mastermind members in their businesses as well, as they put those different systems and people in place so they can do exactly that. And it's not always as voluntary as it was, for example, in my case. One story, one of our members, Ryan, was building up his business, and it was he had a demolition business. And he was very hands-on in the business, helping out with everything from being there for prospects, providing estimates, closing the sales, being there on the job site when the guy showed up in the morning to get the work done. He was present for all of it. He was a very hands-on business owner. And when he wanted to, he'd get his hands dirty and grab a shovel and actually get to work. He loved the work he did.
Yeah.
Well, one day he's talking to a new client on the job site, and the trailer on the back of the truck with the Bobcat comes rolling down the hill towards him. And he barely has time to look up before this trailer runs him over, breaks his femur, blood's going everywhere. The trailer continues moving and dragging his body down the hill. And, when he comes to, he's in intensive care. They're doing surgeries. He's, broken ribs and femurs and bones and all kinds of awful stuff. And he's in the recovery room, and it's dawning on him that, he's got a business to run. And this is a business that is providing jobs to his employees. This is a business providing help in his community to his clients and prospects. He's got jobs that need to get done that he's taken deposits for. He has a business to run, and he is laid up in a hospital room with no time anytime soon to get back out there. And so for him, it was not a choice, it was a forced decision. And so he quickly realized the systems he needed to put into place, the technology he needed to get. So for example, when his crew showed up on the job site, they could clock in and it would be geotagged to the job site, the time they clocked in and so on. He realized the hires he needed so he could have someone going out there and answering inquiries, sales inquiries, writing up estimates, invoicing, taking payments, and all these things. So while he was in the hospital room, the business was able to continue running. And a funny thing happened is he realized that when he wasn't present on the job site, and he wasn't there getting the crews going every morning, and he wasn't doing all this work that needed to get done, the business actually did better. And so suddenly he had a business that was growing, not because of him, but almost despite him. And he realized there was the freedom that could be found in having the right systems and the right people in place. And again, this didn't come by choice, but this was sort of forced on him. But his business grew from there to the point he was able to actually successfully sell and exit that business. Then took the time to travel the country with his family for a year, got an RV, settled down, and started other businesses. And there's so many more stories there. But I share that piece of Ryan's story as it relates to finding that entrepreneurial freedom, sometimes by choice and sometimes by circumstance.
Yeah, I love that. It kind of reminds me because when I used to do everything my own and just everything, and it's like so stressful, and then it's kind of counterintuitive because you start to have an VA or editors, and you find that you have more free time and you can focus more on, and then your business is actually growing. So it seems like the business owner was getting in the way of the.
Oh yeah, yeah. You remind me in saying that of two other quick stories to share with you. One was at a client of mine who his business was he sold to retail stores. They had his hardware in their stores that sort of ran their point of sale systems. And this is a small business. This was him. He was the guy who created the hardware and the software and did the whole thing. Very typical Silicon Valley technical founder.
Yeah.
The problem was he also loved mountain biking and hiking and being outdoors. And when he was doing those things, he didn't have cell phone reception. And he, like many of us, takes pride in the work he does, and it's his name on the line. If something breaks, that's his reputation at stake, right? For many of us business owners, our name is tied up in all this. And so he wanted to be there for his customers, but that meant he wasn't going and enjoying the outdoors and doing the things that brought him fulfillment and joy, and was good for his health and wellness and mental health and everything. So one of the first things we helped him to do was to hire someone to be on the front line of support. So at least during business hours, when that person was online and taking care of things, my client was not the first line of defense now. He could go and work on other parts of the business and not worry about being, quote, on call. Yeah. And that, just headspace wise, was a dramatic, huge first step forward. And he was able to grow from there. And on the larger end of things, another client of mine had employees and had a team and had, offices in multiple countries, but the marketing work still often fell to him to do. And he did an okay job of it. He was doing content marketing, SEO, PPC, a lot of this kind of work. And he did an okay job. But at some point, from the conversation we had in the mastermind, he realized to grow, he needs to find someone else to do that kind of work. And so he hired a chief marketing officer, a CMO.
Yeah.
Now that CMO came on board and was way better at this than he was. So like one good takeaway for our listeners is be mindful of hiring people who are smarter than you and are able to do things better than you and have deeper expertise than you.
Yeah.
It is so worth it. And so with this CMO, all the stuff he was doing was now able to be done full-time by someone as opposed to part-time by the business owner. Yeah. It was also able to be done better and with deeper and better expertise. And so from the work that CMO did, the business was able to grow and grow and grow. But more importantly, none of that was dependent on the business owner. And he could then go put his time towards higher value activities. So when we're the entrepreneur and the business owner, we can hire to get us back our time. And then we choose how we reinvest that time. We can reinvest it in the business and higher value activities. We can reinvest it in ourselves and do things that bring us wellness, health, and fulfillment. We can reinvest it in so many different ways, but it starts to give us that choice and that optionality that comes with that entrepreneurial freedom.
I love that. And you, so I love this idea of growing and scaling, becoming solopreneur to business owner, and now growing and scaling and just massive acceleration, which Silicon Valley is known for. And talk about this idea of the power of the mastermind that Napoleon has, and how you have a mastermind in Silicon Valley. That must be very valuable. So talk about how you help entrepreneurs scale their businesses.
So you mentioned Napoleon Hill. For those of you who haven't heard of him, he started the lives of Dale Carnegie and a lot of these sort of titans of industry. And one of his most well-known books, he has many, but one of his best-known books is from 1938 called Think and Grow Rich. Chapter 10 of that is called The Power of the Mastermind, the Driving Force, the Ninth Step Towards Riches. So he defined the mastermind, pardon this sort of old-timey speak, but it's the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. And he also said, no two minds ever come together without thereby creating a third invisible, intangible force, which may be likened to a third mind. All right, so let's modern day this and what that means today. So at the Bay Area Mastermind, our groups get together once a month for a full day of working on the business, right? So the work in the business is the work of the business. It's the stuff you typically do with your clients, with your team, and so on. But the work on the business is where we get to work on the bigger picture visionary parts of the business and getting the insights we need to really get those breakthroughs and those key pivots in our business. And I'm sure you've had this experience when you're talking with somebody else and not just talking at them, but hearing what they're up to and what they're doing. It can be eye-opening. You hear about things you didn't know about. So when we have folks who apply for a test drive for our mastermind, which this is your opportunity to join us for a day to get a feel for what the mastermind is like and see if it's a fit for you and if you're a fit for the mastermind. Folks test driving with us usually have a big burning question, something keeping them up at night. They've plateaued, they've stagnated, they've faced some challenge, and they feel stuck. So they seek out a mastermind group to get insights and answers and this peer advisory into the biggest challenge they have. So they have two things. They have an idea of what they know, the things they know. These are their areas of expertise, what's working well, what got them this far. They also have the things they know they don't know, which is that big question that they want answers to. But really the biggest opportunities and the biggest aha moments I see again and again come in this third category. And that category is the things we didn't know we didn't know. Oh. See, just by being in a room with like-minded individuals, other fellow growth-focused entrepreneurs, when you hear what they're up to, because every member gets a hot seat during the day in our mastermind, when you hear what they're up to and what's going on in their business, what's working and what's not, that's where you get exposure to these ideas and things you didn't know about. Especially because we are cross-industry. This isn't like an industry niche group. It's different industries, different business models, and so on, all in one room. You really get this cross-pollination of ideas between the members. So I'll give you an example. We will often hear from prospective folks that one of their challenges is growth. How do I find new leads to fill the top of my funnel? We also get folks who have the opposite problem, which is they're overwhelmed with leads and they're having challenges on the operations side. So you get two folks sitting across the table from each other, one saying, how do I get more leads? Once I get them, I take great care of them. And you have somebody else saying, I have so many leads, I can't deal with this. My operations are a mess. I can't even get back to my new prospects who want to do business with me. And so you can imagine the conversation between those two individuals as they have peer advisory around their superpowers and their expertise.
Yeah.
And then between industries, we'll have, for example, I'm a physician running a traditional brick and mortar cash-based medical practice. And then you have someone running an e-commerce business. And the ideas you hear going between those two individuals as they share what they're working on is brilliant. So we had a member who had a brick and mortar retail store, and she's hearing from the e-commerce business what they're doing and how when they send an email, money comes in. And they look at things like earnings per click and open rates and click-through rates and all these metrics all of our fellow email marketers know about. Well, this brick and mortar store wasn't even getting email addresses from customers when they came in the door. So what do you think happens over the next month between our meetings? Start capturing email addresses, start sending out email campaigns, and using all the best practices from this e-commerce company that they happily and willingly shared. This brick and mortar business suddenly started sending emails and seeing money come in from their emails. And on the flip side, this retail store owner was talking about how they were sending out direct mail, and that worked really well for them. And so this e-commerce business owner is asking questions around how they find their list of who to mail to, what mail house they use, what, if they use postcards versus letters, like what the format is they use, like what the best practices are. And so you have this online business who's never done direct mail, getting the behind the scenes best practices, tips, tricks, vendors, resources to do direct mail. And so over the next month, they're able to find the right lists, put together the right direct mail pieces, send out direct mail, track back the effectiveness of it, and open up a whole new channel of marketing. And then the medical practice is hearing all around SaaS businesses and subscriptions and is able to start putting in continuity programs to their medical practice. And this is just a few of so many examples of this cross-pollination of ideas where folks are hearing about things they never knew existed and implementing them in their own business. And so when you're feeling stuck, a mastermind group can help you to get unstuck on the issue that you think is the issue, but more importantly is they can provide those pivots and those insights that you need from like-minded entrepreneurs that can get you unstuck. And so that's what I've been running here with the Bay Area Mastermind Group, not just here with local businesses, but we have members who join us virtually in our hybrid format meetings or our online meetings, as well as folks who travel in and join us. And you find accountability, you find inspiration, you find community, all of that behind the closed doors of a mastermind meeting.
Yeah, awesome. And what a fantastic way to end it. And how can people, check out I know you got a trial period, you got a hybrid, you got also, and how can people check that out, follow you on socials, check out your work, etc.?
Yeah, so you can find us, everywhere under Bay Area Mastermind. You can find all this and more at bayareamastermind.com. A lot of the stories that I was sharing and talking about, I write up those stories and publish those so you can find those and dive deeper. I'm a tactical guy, so sure, it feels good to be inspired and hear stuff, but I also want the brass tacks of what do I do with this information? So I always have the key takeaways of what you can do from each of those stories as well. All that's at bayareamastermind.com. And then what you touched on there a moment ago is our test drive. For those who are interested in seeing what a mastermind group is like, it doesn't make sense to join a club or a membership without knowing what it really is. Yeah. So we have a test drive, and that lets you apply to be part of the group. And if it looks like it'll be a good fit, we take the next baby step, which is trying out the group one time. And if it looks like it's a fit and it's bringing value to you and you're bringing value to the group, then we extend the offer to join us longer term as a member, if that makes sense. But worst case, you get answers to your biggest questions. You meet other great like-minded individuals. You find out about the things you didn't know. And best case, you realize it's the family and community you've been looking for all along of like-minded entrepreneurs and business owners who get you. So you can find us at bayareamastermind.com.
Awesome. And let's thank Jeremy for coming on and talking just all these concepts and entrepreneurs. And be sure to check it out. All these links will be in the resources. Give them a like and follow on socials. And thanks so much for coming on.
This was great. Thanks for having me.
Doctors dedicate their lives to caring for others. It's time someone took care of you. Visit patternlife.com to simplify your path to peace of mind. patternlife.com, simplifying your insurance journey.
I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislumdphd.com for more support. I'll see you next week.